Hi guys, hope you're all well. This is Ulas. Today we'll be studying the boundaries and contents of axilla. Okay, let's get started guys. The axilla is the Latin word for armpit. Armpit is this region. When you see it anatomically, armpit is like a pyramid. The axilla is like a pyramid, a four-sided pyramid. So if it is a four-sided pyramid, how many walls will it have? Four walls, obviously. Then it will have an apex and a base. It has to form a pyramid. Okay, we'll be studying that now. Okay, the boundaries of the axilla. The apex of the axilla is this region. This region is the apex of the axilla. So what is apex of axilla called? It is called cervico-axillary canal. Cervix is the neck, axilla is here. So why is it called cervico-axillary canal? Because certain contents of the axilla, like the trunks of the brachial plexus, enter the axilla from the neck. The brachial plexus forms in the neck. It comes here, then it enters the axilla. So if it has to enter the axilla, it has to enter to the apex of the axilla. So what is the boundaries of the apex? Apex is divided mainly into anterior, posterior and medial boundary. So how is it? I'll be showing you now. See here, if I am drawing the right apex, medial, lateral, okay, then the anterior boundary is by the clavicle. See here, this is the anterior boundary. Then the posterior boundary is formed by the superior border of scapula here. The superior border of scapula forms the posterior boundary. What is the medial boundary formed by? A convex surface, first rib. So these are the boundaries of apex of the axilla. Okay, it's also called cervico-axillary canal. Then let's go to the base. Base is this region. It is formed by the skin. Skin, obviously, when you see the armpit, you see the skin of armpit. Then below the skin, what will be there? Superficial fascia. Below that, what will be there? Deep fascia. Deep fascia of the axilla is called the axillary fascia. So that are the boundaries, guys. There is no muscle in axilla. Okay, it's around the axilla. We'll be studying that. And guys, there are four walls because it is a four-sided pyramid. What is the anterior wall? See here guys, this is the anterior axillary fold. I am holding it now. This is the anterior axillary fold. It is formed by two muscles mainly. What muscles? Obviously the muscles of the chest. So the muscles of the chest go and insert into the humerus and scapula. What are those muscles? The pectoralis major muscle. It is the bigger muscle of the chest. It is going and attaching to the lateral lip of the bicipital groove. So bicipital groove is on the humerus, so it will obviously cross the axilla. So it is forming the pectoralis major, is forming the anterior boundary of the axilla, anterior wall. Then below the pectoralis major, what do we have? If we remove the pectoralis major, there is the clavipectoral fascia. Clavipectoral fascia is enclosing the pectoralis minor, and pectoralis coracoid process is here. So this clavipectoral fascia and the pectoralis minor, they also form the anterior wall of the axilla. Okay, that was the anterior wall. Then what? We'll check the posterior wall. Posterior wall of axilla is this one, the posterior axillary fold. There is a very beautiful muscle there, that's called latissimus dorsi. Latissimus is sheet, dorsi is, it is in the back. It is a back muscle, it comes like a sheet. If you are doing pull-ups now, the latissimus dorsi are used a lot. So that gives a characteristic V shape to the body. Then there is the subscapularis. Scapula is like this now, in the back, it is like this. So subscapularis comes from the ventral surface of the scapula and is attached to the humerus. Then there is teres major. Teres major is a muscle. We'll be studying that too. Guys, we used to remember it as a mnemonic. The bicipital groove attachments are lady between two majors. What is lady? Lady is the latissimus dorsi tendon, which is inserted in the between the greater and lesser tubercle. Greater tubercle, there is the lateral lip of the bicipital groove, there is insertion of pectoralis major. Medial lip, there is insertion of teres major. So between that is the latissimus dorsi, and there is also the long head of biceps there. We'll be studying that. Okay, these are the three muscles which form the posterior wall. Posterior wall of axilla, it is formed by the subscapularis. Why subscapularis? Because it is in the ventral surface of scapula, is going to the arm. So obviously it will be there in the posterior wall. Then there is teres major. Teres major is also taking origin from the scapula, and then it is also going to the arm. So obviously it will be there. Then there is latissimus dorsi. Latissimus dorsi is coming from the back and inserting into the arm. So it will be in the posterior axillary fold. This is the posterior wall. Then there is, see, I'll show you in this diagram, guys. This is the anterior part. and this is the posterior part. Okay, so what? Okay, there is pectoralis major in the front, isn't it? This is the pectoralis major. Then behind it, what is there? Clavipectoral fascia. Clavipectoral fascia encloses pectoralis minor. These form the anterior wall. Then what do we have in the posterior wall? This is the subscapularis. Then this is the teres major. This is the latissimus dorsi. They form the posterior wall. And what is this region? This is the axilla. Okay, now let's go to the lateral wall of axilla. Lateral wall of axilla, what is there? Okay, guys, anterior wall muscles are also inserted into humerus. Posterior wall muscles also inserted into humerus. So then what will be the boundary? Obviously, the boundary will be the humerus. They are converging like this onto the humerus. So the boundary will be the humerus. What part? The upper part. Upper part of head? No, the shaft of humerus. Okay, because that is where the bicipital groove is. So upper part of the shaft of humerus in the bicipital groove. Then there are two muscles there. Very unique muscles, or one of my favorites during dissection, because I had torn those muscles. The coracobrachialis, which comes from coracoid process to the arm, to the brachium. Then there is short head of biceps, that also comes from the coracoid process. If they are coming from the coracoid process and to the arm, obviously they will form the lateral wall, because that is where the basically the muscles are converging. Then there is the medial wall. Medial wall, what is the structures forming it? See, medial wall of axilla is this one. If you palpate it, you won't find muscles there. You'll find ribs. You can palpate easily. So what ribs? Upper four ribs. Upper four ribs, what is the limit? The fourth intercostal space is the, what is it? The napellareolar complex. So that forms the medial wall of axilla. Medial wall is formed by ribs. Will the ribs float? No, there is something holding it together. What is it? That is the intercostal muscles. Then there is serratus anterior. We learned that now, very beautiful muscle. The form of digitation, it takes origin from the upper 8 ribs. If the upper 4 ribs are involved, obviously the digitations of the serratus anterior also be involved. That forms the medial wall. Guys, these were the boundaries of axilla. Then we'll go to the contents of axilla. Contents of axilla is very beautiful. Why? Because the contents from the heart, one of the main vessels, like the heart gives out branches now. Then there are subclavian arteries. The aorta gives out branches. There are subclavian arteries. Subclavian arteries at the outer border of first rib, they become the axillary artery. Axillary artery goes into the axilla. So axillary artery goes into the axilla and gives out branches. So axillary artery and its branches are the contents. Then there is axillary artery is accompanied by axillary vein. But the axillary vein, the blood drains into, not from the axillary vein. So we call it as tributaries. Why? Rivers go and meet into one of main river na. So tributaries of the axillary vein. Then there is brachial plexus. It forms in the neck, goes into the axilla, supplies the arm. So brachium is basically the arm. So brachial plexus supplies the arm, upper limb basically. Then there is axillary lymph nodes and lymphatics. Guys, we learned that in the lymphatic drainage of breast now, there are anterior group, posterior group, lateral group. Then there is central group, which is in the fat of the axilla. Those all are the contents of axilla. Then there is long thoracic nerve and intercostobrachial nerve. Long thoracic nerve, we have learned that where? We have learned that in serratus anterior nerve supply. And intercostobrachial nerve, we will be learning that soon. Then there is axillary pad of fat. I used to remember this mnemonic, guys. Bilvas axilla has fat. B is the, what is it? B is the brachial plexus. I is the intercostobrachial nerve. L is the lymphatics. L is the long thoracic nerve. B is the axillary vein. A is the axillary artery. So, and fat is obviously the content of the axilla now. So I used to remember this as Bilvas axilla has fat. Okay, guys, this was the class for today. If there are any doubts, please post it in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer you. All the best, guys. See you. Bye.